Take myself off mute there. What is up, all you freaks out there? This is Ryan and my special guest co-host with the note from the Orion Effect on the Riff Radio Network. We got Rhonda Dowdy coming at us from across the universe, riding the cosmic waves, whatever how he says.
Riding the cosmic waves all the way over to the Freakin Awesome Paranormal Show.
On the Vibe Radio Network. What is up? How are you doing tonight?
Good. That's
awesome. So I wanted to thank you for taking the time to join us tonight. Austin has got some stuff going on, and so he couldn't make it. So I messaged you, and you came in, and I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I didn't mind at all. Good night for it.
Especially on National Drinking with Chickens Day, which I know I can't believe is actually here again. You know, I mean, I've been waiting for this day for like my whole life because the first time I've ever heard of it. But today is National Drinking with Chickens Day. And so guys and girls, thank you so much for coming on the show and watching us tonight. You know, hope you have your chicken next to you. You're taking a drink, maybe doing some shots with your chicken. I don't know. You know, whatever you want to do with your chicken, it's your time. It's up to you. But we appreciate you coming on and joining us tonight, especially on such an important holiday. It's also
with your chicken. Okay.
Drinking with your chicken day. And I saw that, man. I saw that because I go through and I find the holidays that, you know, and I saw National Drinking with Chickens Day. I was like, holy shit. This is the best holiday ever.
Well, some people are really into their chickens. I mean, they make them clothes and everything else. So if you need a drinking buddy, drink with your chicken.
Some weird, yeah. I mean, there might be some weird like East Asian holiday that nobody's ever heard of before, you know, or chickens are revered or something. I don't know. So, you know, we're poking a little fun. We're having fun with it. But for those of you who enjoyed National Drinking with Chickens Day, we want to give you a shout out to all you people drinking with your chickens right now. It's also National Taffy Day. So, you know, there's that.
Some good taffy there. Yeah.
Me too. I'm not a big fan of saltwater taffy, though.
You're not?
No, I don't think it has much flavor to it at all. You know, these are the ones I've had that come to the boxes, you know.
Yeah.
They're not my favorite. I like Laffy Taffy.
Yeah. There's a place down in the Outer Banks, way down in the Outer Banks, and they make their own saltwater taffy, and theirs does have a lot of flavor.
I've been by there before.
Yeah,
it's down like 152, I think.
Yeah. So theirs is really good.
Yeah, it's near Nag's Head.
It's actually past that. It's all the way down in like Hatteras.
Oh,
I think
wow.
It's called the Scotch Bonnet.
Really okay, good. I'm thinking about
something else. Fudge.
Thinking about another place that's right down.
I know what you're talking about. I've been in there too. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Now I can't think of the name of the place. It's like I can see it. You know, it's like when you hear a song and you know the words and you can't think of the name of the song. You just keep playing the same part, keeps playing over and over again, but you can't get past that one part to get to the part where the words come in. That's pretty much how I'm feeling right now. But I'm sure the people who are watching us tonight love hearing a riveting conversation about drinking with chickens and saltwater taffy. And you can just talk about that all night long. We can just do that. But I think we should get to our guest.
Yes.
Tonight. So I met Sean a few years ago. He came out to the cabin on 360 with Dave Spinks and did some investigating out there. And he's come on the show a couple of times, and he's nice enough to join us tonight on the Freakin Awesome Paranormal Show. I just got done binge watching his show 28 Days Haunted. So we're going to get him on the show and talk about that. And yeah, it'll be fun. What is up, man? Welcome.
Oh, you see, you can see me now.
Yes.
How are you?
I am doing good, man. How are you? Thank you so much for coming on with us tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Man. So, for those of the people who don't know, how did you get started in the paranormal? What is your story, and how did you get to where you are now?
I kind of by mistake per se. Friend of mine's a big skeptic, and I was waitering at a restaurant at the time, and I wanted to have an experience. I always believed in ghosts. I watched all the TV shows and big horror movie buff as a kid, and I thought of a cemetery in New York that had a urban legend of 3 women in white that would chase you out. So I got him to go with me one night, and we're walking around the cemetery. He's laughing the whole time, and I had a flip phone right before smartphones became a thing. And all of a sudden, I was up in this little girl's grave. Her name's Jenny, and I think she was about 8 years old. And I recorded a little piece of voice note audio on my flip phone. And not until the next night, when I listened back to recordings, I got that defining EVP, which was the trigger to me in the paranormal. It was this little girl saying, "My 2 toys died." And then I was listening to EVPs all from that night, and someone said "muerto," which is death in Spanish, and all sorts of stuff. And I knew that nobody was around, and that was it. That was, drew me in. 3 weeks later, so I shot a little girl at the corner of my bed. It was even light out, wasn't dark. And it was just the experiences. It was just a flip of the switch, and it was all coming to me, and it was full throttle. And here I am over 13 years later doing what I'm doing now.
Wow. So you didn't have any experiences before, like anything that was weird before you went out on an investigation?
I mean, when I got involved in the paranormal, I thought to myself when I was writing my first book, Shadow Chaser, I thought about little omens or something. Were there any signs? And there definitely was. I talk about it in my first book. When I was a child, I would be in the bathtub with my mother. She'd be giving me a bath, and I'd be telling her that, I remember being in her womb and being in space and have these weird conversations at a really young age. And a little bit later in life, I was running home from a house we had out in Long Island from a friend's house, maybe 9 or 10, I'm not sure, and saw like the high dead grass in the corner of my peripheral vision. And I went to go pick up this object, and it was a satanic book. It was burnt on the outer edges, and I had this creepy feeling running home, crying to my mother. So when I was thinking about these little things, there were just little weird things, clues. I used to have like visions of people's faces that I never met. And I thought to myself, is my imagination able to come up with someone's face if I've never met them? And then another really weird thing that stands out was 3 years before I got involved in the paranormal. I was staying at a house with roommates at this house in Westchester County in a city called Thornwood. And this girl had come over to hang out with me. And she never told me this story until 3 years later when she started seeing me post paranormal stuff on the page. But she said that when she pulled up one night, she saw this black hooded shadow, looking into my window, and then turned its head and had black eyes and disappeared, and said it was the most terrifying thing she ever saw. But she had the courage to tell me because she thought I would have thought she was crazy. Mm-hmm. So, little weird things like that. And my interpretation I take from that is this thing was probably watching me from the outskirts before what I like to call is I start to step onto the and engage into the rules, the spiritual rules of engagement, when these things can actually, encounter them and go on to their planes of existence in some of these places. And, there's no conception of time. So these things kind of know the people that they're going to encounter and have these paranormal experiences with. And obviously the line of work that I ended up being more geared towards with dealing with dark energies and so forth. So yeah, there was definitely a bunch of signs, but it was never like a psychic thing or a paranormal thing that stood out to me. Like I believed in everything. It was just kind of, once I actually engaged that world, it was just like, I just flipped the light on and then it was everywhere. It was always there. Then it was like, oh yeah, no, it was like a Matrix, the movie moment. I always bring up that metaphor. Like you want the blue pill, the red pill. It's just like, all right, now, everything's this way and there's stuff everywhere. So, okay.
It sounds like anything that happened to you is like a puzzle piece, and that EVP you got in the cemetery is like the final piece of the puzzle. And now it's all come together for you, and it's just coming at you all at once. Now, a lot of people, they get EVPs. They don't have that experience. What do you think caused that for you?
I guess I probably did have some sort of psychic ability that was dormant. Now, I do believe all of us have some sort of spiritual ability that are within every single one of us. We are spiritual beings living in a human body vessel. That's who we are as a core. But incorporated with our destined soul's path, some people are more geared to be and more involved in the physical plane stuff, and some people like ourselves are more geared to be dealing with the spiritual side of things. So, and then some people are more endowed to be having more of a natural talent to be connected to the spiritual world. I mean, just like, music was my first passion. I only took 3 guitar lessons and my ear became my best teacher. So, I naturally was able to pick up, instruments and write music and stuff like that. And I think psychic abilities is kind of like that too. It's kind of like a muscle that you develop and become stronger over time the more you use it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think everybody has the abilities, and I think you just have to hone into them and practice them. It's a muscle, you have to exercise it. And if you don't use it, then it doesn't happen. And I think I'm kind of like you. Not a lot of people have had like a, a paranormal experience, then that got them in the paranormal to begin with. They lived in a haunted house or something of that nature. I didn't either. I always believed in ghosts. I always knew houses were haunted. I don't know how. I didn't experience it, but it wasn't until I got going on my spiritual journey that then I landed in the paranormal. And I was like, now I'm like you. I look back on things in my childhood and I'm like, oh, oh,
Yeah.
that was probably an experience.
That's exactly what I did, especially again when I was writing my first book, because I was thinking about, was there anything that stood out? And there definitely was. There definitely were little signs of things to come. And that defining night at that cemetery took me off into a whole new direction. I mean, my whole life to me was music and writing songs, and that was my first passion. That still is a passion, and I try to do that when I can. I'd really like to get more involved in performing again like I used to. But the paranormal just, it was just an engulfing thing, and took me off into a whole new world, pun intended here.
Now, do you think your love for music and your singing and stuff and your writing music, has that helped you at all as far as paranormal investigating, like listening for things and stuff like that?
Yeah, I definitely think it, having a real keen ear, with listening to audio and all sorts of stuff like that. I mean, I can aim my ear at all different types of devices. I definitely think it's helped me on investigations for sure. Um, Definitely, and also on a spiritual level per se, and not just developing my ear. Is that music and spirituality go hand in hand. I mean, music is just an extension of an emotion, and that's what's so amazing about music, is that music can represent any sort of a human emotion that we can have: sadness, hope, anger, whatever it may be. So there's a huge connect there. And even on the show 28 Days Haunted, um, there was a whole thing that happened to me that actually didn't even make it on the show, which I try to, which will be part of my lecture for the rest of my life, and telling that story, what happened to me. And the experience that went further than the show is the most beautiful and emotional paranormal experience that I really ever had. And it has to do with music, because I ended up writing a song about it.
Well, I mean, to me, it makes sense because, if you are into spiritualism or you've studied mediumship or psychism, you're using your right brain, your non logical side of your brain. And a lot of times it's the left side, the logical side, that makes you not notice things that are happening, or you can't get out of your own head to say, oh, that really was something I noticed. And you're using that right brain as well with music and art. So as you're honing even with that, that would make things more present to you as well.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, we know acknowledgement gives, credence and energy to the spirit realm and to these individual spirits. That's why all the residentials I've done, you try to tell them, like, and I know how easy it is, that slippery slope. As soon as you may experience something paranormal, or think you experience something paranormal, or you kind of just wonder about it, think about it, and open to it, like every little noise, like, oh, what was that? Like every little tiny noise that you never noticed before, it's kind of, you're questioning, like, wait a minute, and so, especially in these houses, you try to help families. It's like, all right, bless the home. Hopefully we displaced whatever spiritual energies are there. But try not to, like, sit there and every little noise say, what was that? What was that? Because you're acknowledging things, you could bring it back in, and the whole thing could start over from the beginning with that cycle. So
Yeah, for sure. So tell us a little bit. Tell us about that musical experience that you had that was so changing for you?
Yeah. So 28 Days Haunted, I kind of was thrown into the mix pretty last minute. And I basically had to drop my things. I was doing a paranormal conference in Connecticut that weekend, and it kind of happened really out of nowhere. My commuter just got a phone call, and I basically had to make a decision. And I'm like, okay, I had to do this busy Paracon all weekend till 6 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. And that night I had to pack my things and go off the grid for those 28 days. And, I kind of asked them because I obviously, that's pretty rough to not have a phone, TV, or internet. And I asked one of the producers, I'm like, hey, look, I mean, am I allowed to bring my acoustic guitar? Because like I'm a little worried about going a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs because I mean, I'm pretty much going back to like, what the Amish do at this point. I mean, I'm not going to have anything. And they allowed me to do that. And luckily I did because of what ended up happening. And obviously staying at that place, living, I mean, again, there's so much that you didn't see on the show. I mean, we were there 7 days a week. And I take it back to even like, the theory behind Ed Warren. I mean, Ed Warren, when he kind of came up with that theory, obviously, I'm sure you all would think the same thing. 28 Days is probably most likely connected to Amityville Horror. The Lutz family moved into the house and they left all their belongings behind and they stayed in that house for exactly 28 days. And I think Ed saw this as the perfect storm and example of what would happen in a real extreme haunting and the stages of what would happen up until those 28 days until the family would just get up and leave. But again, we were experimenting with that cycle, but we weren't just living in the house and then things were happening to us. It was 24/7, like engaging spirits, communicating with spirits, thinking about spirits, sleeping, dreaming about spirits. It was all day, every day. And we have no connections to the outside world besides ourselves. And, in those types of cases, the Warrens were going on. The families would just be sitting in the middle of the house and, put their bed mattress and sleep together because of stuff that happened in the house. But we were actually investigating every single day. Probably the overall time that you see on the Netflix show is probably an hour and 15 minutes per team at most. If that just gives you an idea of like, we were there for like weeks. So without any escape at that place is all I knew. It's all I knew. It's like, I've been saying, it's like a prison. And I'm not saying it's as bad as a prison, but I'm just saying like the prisoners, all they knew was the courtyard, the cell, and the cafeteria. And all I knew was that house, every, crevice of that house, of that property. It's all I knew, and I remember like the first week too, and we would make lists of like stuff so they could get stuff from the supermarket for us. And then they would fill up, the refrigerators. And luckily, that was a nice thing. I'd be cooking, the other guy would be cooking, like, grilling out and stuff like that. But I noticed like for the first week, I'm like, it was starting to like, just sit around and we're investigating. And I'm like, gosh, I don't want to just sit here and be eating food. And you got to be really, psychologically, emotionally fit for this stuff because you're going to be there for weeks. And so I just, after the first week, I'm like, that's it. And luckily our property was pretty nice. So there was a big backyard. So I started waking up in the morning at like, 9-10 in the morning. And I just started jogging and listening to music and going around the property and doing jumping jacks and push-ups and stuff like that to just, keep in shape. And because again, I know I've stayed at places for long periods of time. I know what can happen. It can really break you down and try to divide everyone, which you see part of that stuff on the show. But anyways, getting back to the whole thing with Mercy Adelaide was, being there and living that every night. I'd be visited in my bed and I would see this woman in long gray hair standing at my bed. And just things whispered in my ears, visions of people. And I would just raise my hand because there'd be a camera on me at all times when I'm sleeping. I'm like, yep, something just happened. I don't know if you caught it on a camera or whatever, this and that, in case something was there, because they had people watching us 24/7. But as we uncovered the story of the whole thing and how she lost her husband at sea, the love of her life, she married him, and one day he just got on a ship and never came home. And in those days, you never knew if he would come home tomorrow, next week, next month, or never at all. Tapping into that emotion, living there every day. I really felt like I was one of the spirits on the property that were trapped there. But there was this one time that we were in the cemetery. The first time is in front of Mercy Adelaide's and Captain Grant's grave. And I had this vision that she would write these notes to her captain poetically, almost as if like as a release for her. And I can relate to that because when I would write songs and lyrics that were very emotionally profound to me and things that I was going through, and it's a release to put, words into paper. It's getting it out, and for me, it was like an invisible therapist writing songs and being able to sing emotionally about stuff that was important to me or I was being affected by. But I actually said out loud some of the words that I believe that she wrote, and I would say, and I said, like, I save your lips with the breath of each day. Life is enduring without you. The wind is my only company. So I told everybody this, and then we went back to the house. And now, again, bring it back to my guitar, is that we had downtime sometimes, during the day, because we had to film a lot of stuff and investigate constantly. But I would go off on my own with my guitar just for downtime because, again, we have no entertainment. There's nothing. And I'd sit there and I just play some songs, and I started to come up with some songs. I was humming melodies to songs. That's usually how I write songs. I'd hum a melody to a song and then write lyrics to it. And one of the songs is really haunting. And I thought to myself, when I go home, I'm going to write this song about her loss to her captain because I really felt connected to it every day. It was building, building. And I told everyone, when I go home, I'm going to take some of those words that I believe she wrote to her captain, and I'm going to meld it with my own words. And I think I'm going to finish that song and write it because this has been a pretty extreme experience being in a place this long. So after that, I was up in this room. Now, part of this you see in the show, I'm sitting in the chair and I start to get emotional, and it goes way further than that. And this was really this whole moment that happened that you didn't see really led to this whole thing. Because I sat there in the chair and she showed me like a golden locket, and it opened up. I saw a beautiful young brunette. And in this moment, back in my mind, I knew that older lady with the long gray hair that was coming to me on my bed, she was showing me when she was young. She was there until her older years, but she was showing me 2 points in her life. She was really connecting to me. And then I saw a vision of, like, I don't know if I was looking through her eyes or somebody else, but it may have been hers. And I was looking out on the beach and I could see a ship going off in the distance, and I see 2 rock boulders. And I believe that to be Captain Grant's ship. And then from there, I started to get like a little like sadness coming over me. And then all of a sudden I started to hear her say shipwreck. And then this vision changed, and I could see the back of this guy's head, abruptly changing the steering wheel. I don't know if he was in a storm or dodging something. That's all I could really tell. Obviously I would believe that she's probably showing me, what happened to him. And then from there is when this whole thing happened to me. Out of nowhere, I started to hear, the acoustic chords of the song that I had planned to write for her, that I was playing around the house by myself and out in the field by myself on the bench. I've never had this happen to me. Like, one of the songs I wrote, I could hear the acoustic chords playing inside my head. And at this moment, I knew this realization that she knew that I was going to dedicate a song of her decades of heartache and the emotion that took over me. And it was connected to like heartache of things that I've dealt with. And it exploded so much that I literally started to sob. And I was like, I can't even stop crying. I'm like, stop. I can't even handle it. It was just so crazy profound on so many levels. I had no words. And I had to get up from the chair, and I ran downstairs, and I had to open up the side door of the house. And I'm like, I can't stop. It went on for like 10, 15 minutes. I'm like, I can't stop. I just can't stop crying. It couldn't stop. And I sat there, opened the door to get some fresh air, and I heard this voice of, I believe, her, and she said, you were meant to come here. You captured my essence. And, it calmed down or this and that. It was the end of the night. And the next morning I had a burner phone. It has no internet on it, but, I used it for like recording audio at the time that night. And I had it on the bed with me. And I went back to listen to the recording. And literally right before you hear me say, oh my God, I'm hearing the chords of the song, she knows I'm going to write the song. She is humming the melody to my song that I was humming around the house and humming outside. And I just lose it. I run to my guitar and I record it with my burner phone, the acoustic chords, and I put it on my laptop, and I put her EVP over the acoustic chord, and she is humming the 2-part melody in perfect key to my acoustic guitar. And I was just like, I couldn't even deal with it. Like, and it was just hard to explain, because every time I even started to talk about it, when this whole thing happened, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna start crying again. I can't even deal with it. But I showed everybody this and that. And that's really why I wanted to put flowers on her grave. And I took flowers from the property, because I was so thankful for this amazing experience. As sad as it was also beautiful. And, just to think about how profound and powerful it is. I mean, talk about, the telepathic connection, the evidence of like psychic ability and love, how it lives on way beyond this world, and how you can long for someone infinitely. And this lady's spirit was like definitely there, and she was looking for him. It just was so crazy. And I said there in front of the grave, which again, you didn't see on the show, but I'm like, I'm going to go home and I'm going to record that song, and I'm going to do it justice. I'm going to dedicate it to you. And I'm so thankful for this experience. I'll never forget it. And that's what I did. Now, mind you, I did, the night as I was about to pray for her on the show, right as I turned on the spirit box, which I have, which is on the video, you can watch it on YouTube, this whole little 20-minute documentary, the evidence you didn't see, and the music video I dedicated the song. But you hear her say, Sean, I want to learn how to play the song, clear as day through the spirit box. But anyways, I recorded the song. I went down to Nashville. I named the song Mercy. Now, obviously you think about this, the name Mercy, it has dual meaning. Not only was it her name, but it's kind of like, take the pain away, stop it, stop the pain. And I took the first line of the song of what I believe she was writing to him, and then the rest of the lyrics, I put my own words in there. And her humming is kind of like a swishing noise in the background. It's part of the song. And that's why I truly believe it's like I basically co-wrote a song with a ghost. Now, when I got the final mix of the song from the producer, I was sitting there in my bed, another apartment I was at, and I had this vision of this woman in a green dress, and she gave me a curtsy. And I knew in that moment that was her saying, thank you for giving a voice to my story on a huge level here. And when the show came out and premiered, I was laying on this couch dozing off, and I had another vision of this woman in a green dress, and she was walking up to this gentleman, and he's like about to dance with her, and he puts her up like and spins her around his arm, and then he just puts her up, in his hands. And I just had this really good feeling, this reuniting. I don't know. I really do believe something really did positive happen for me being there. And like she said, I was meant to come there. But it got a little weirder too. So when I went down to go film the music video to the song, so my filmmaker buddy, who I do a lot of documentaries with, he lives in North Carolina, and he lives right in Wilmington, which is, near the beach. So I'm down there, and we have this actress girl. She was there to, play the part and, in the music video. And, the filmmaker, Billy, wanted to hear a little bit more about the story. And I was randomly looking up online, and I had no idea that Captain Grant was said to have shipwrecked 3 hours out to sea from where I was in North Carolina on Cape Hatteras. And I'm just like, what? Like, what are the chances of that? I mean, I only went to North Carolina at the beach because my filmmaker buddy was there. And, that's just by chance. And then I looked there, and that Captain Grant wrote this message that was like on a plate or something. On this day, 1754, God bless my family and my wife and my children. And it was February 13th. That's my birthday. So I just thought the whole thing was weird. I definitely think I was meant to be there. And I knew in that moment, that connection and experience that I had with her was more important than anything I was doing on the show. And that is something that I will continue to and hope to share with everyone as I continue doing what I'm doing as a part of my lecture.
Wow, that is an absolutely amazing story. It's wow. I mean, I knew you had a connection with her because I think this was the first night you were there, you were getting the name Adelaide coming through.
Yeah. And she would say, I'm here without my captain. We would get that over and over again.
Like she was like something, part of her was missing, and it's how she introduces herself. She's no longer whole because she's missing that part of herself, which would be the captain.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, that's the special part about doing something like that. Being at a place for that long, because most of the time we investigate places for one night, and we do a nice long investigation of 8 hours, but to actually be there for about a month, with no isolated away from the world. I mean, you have such a huge opportunity to really connect to the spirits on the property, especially if you're sensitive like myself, where they know that you're open, they know that you're trusting, they see it around your aura, and they know that you're genuine in nature and like respect them and sympathize for them. There was a real reciprocal chance there to really connect on a level that will be unforgettable, like what I experienced filming 28 Days on It.
Yeah, and healing for you and the spirit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a release. It was kind of like a release for maybe both of us, because it was, yeah, it's just like our emotional turmoil. Like I don't know, like it was like intertwined like a rope. And I think that's maybe why she related to me, because I was going through something like around that time, and it's just like she really connected to me. I don't know. It's something that I'll wonder about for the rest of my life, but that's I'm truly thankful for that experience. I mean, that's something special and unique that you don't really typically hear about.
Have you been back there since at all?
I have been back there. Um, we did an event, a 4-day event for people who could investigate with me, and we had some really cool experiences. But I mean, um, she never came through or anything like that. I think I may have asked if she got help again. Someone said yes. And I'm doing another event there in August. If anyone's interested, you can look it up on Facebook. 28 Days Haunted Revisited. Um, I think it's August 11th, like Friday and Saturday. But yeah, I mean, the owners of that place is truly wonderful people. They're truly passionate about running a bed and breakfast, and just a beautiful property. And definitely weird going back there because, again, I was there. I was like there for so long.
Second home.
Yeah. And interesting enough, just recently, when I went up there for the event, I'd never met the Carol for the first time, and I was telling her about the whole debacle with the mirror, and she actually told me guests that have stayed there before had the same exact experience. A woman came out of the shower, and there was writing on the mirror when they were there. So I thought that was interesting, considering, I mean, I know I was accused of writing on the mirror, but to know that somebody else had that experience there as well, that makes me think like, okay, maybe there was some sort of connection to that, or someone else had actually experienced that as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask, did you know the guys you were going to be going out there with?
No.
I mean, did we just show up and they were there? Did they tell you ahead of time, or was it like, okay, show up?
I never met them. I basically just had to like pull up to a hotel and put a blindfold on, and I just would start trying to pick up stuff that I was getting in the car, like before arriving there. And no, I've never met them before. They're friends for 12 years. So, I mean, obviously they had an advantage over me to have that camaraderie with each other. But obviously there was some divisiveness going on. And I was trying to convey, that this is the type of stuff that can happen, because I mean, we're here to do a TV show, and if there are negative spirits here, they're going to use us like a chess piece here to just toy with us and play with us and antagonize the situation, because we're like gerbils in a cage. Just like they know we have to be here for a certain amount of time, and obviously you saw some of that. What I with accused with the mirror, and also like the two of them were arguing and having some issues too. And it's just like you don't even have to deal with ghosts. I mean, just go back and watch MTV Real World or Jersey Shore. I mean, the shit's gonna happen no matter what. But you throw like spirits and dark negative spirits from another dimension on top of it, I mean, then you're gonna be like, okay, it's gonna get a lot worse. So
yeah, I think people probably thought that you guys were, stop filming and then you go off and do what you want to do, go out and do things. But you guys were there with each other. You don't know each other. You don't know each other's like idiosyncrasies and stuff. So you've got to deal with that, with the emotions of that, and also deal with the emotions of the spirits in the house. And luckily there wasn't like super dark energy there.
Yeah, there's definitely some dark stuff there for sure. I mean, again, this place is used for paranormal investigation. It's not just a place that's like haunted where people go visit. Like people go there and stay there to investigate the paranormal, to experience the paranormal. And the place is in the center of two different cemeteries, one across the street and one in the backyard. And I mean, you never know what these types of people, do. I also, someone had told me that they had one of the guests that actually stayed in the room that I stayed in had left behind some, voodoo dolls in the room that I'd stayed at, and it was writing on the mirror too. So there's weird stuff that I had heard from other people, since being there too, that like, you never know what people go in there and do. They could be inviting more stuff onto what might just be there historically. I mean, this is the case for all the types of places you go investigate. Urban legends. You hear like, oh, you sit there, your car is going to be pushed and have handprints, but like people are going to go there to have that experience, but then also bring Ouija boards, candles, do rituals and stuff like that. So a place that wasn't really haunted before, that's just an urban legend, now actually is haunted because you actually opened up a doorway, a portal, or a vortex of some sort for all different types of energies to come through. And then there actually has some sort of truth to a place being creepy because people want to do creepy things at creepy places.
And there was a guy who practiced dark magic back in the 1600s. So you're talking about the pentagram they found in the cemetery.
Oh yeah, it was in the backyard. Yep. Yeah, I remember having visions about that too, man. Like I mean, by like the third week, like I literally, I was just slurring my words. I mean, I could sleep 8 hours, and once you start investigating the paranormal, I was just like, ugh. I mean, I couldn't do anymore. It was just like it was just insane. And I remember having some crazy vision where I was seeing someone like with a pentagram, and they had flasks, and I don't even remember what I was saying, but I was saying they had ingredients like sapphires and stuff. It has something to do with those experiments those people were doing in those years. But again, there's so much more that happened in the show, and besides the song. I mean, there were so many days to investigate. I mean, we had all right, what are we going to do tonight? We've done everything 10 times fold. I mean, what are we going to do? Like, hang from the roof of the house and try to talk to ghosts upside down or something? Like, I don't even know, you know what I mean? I mean, obviously that's why some of the houses had, experiments like going into, the tanks and things like that. I mean, there were experiments that they did in our location that they didn't show. I mean, Nick, who, with the whole mirror debacle, I mean, he actually did something called the psychomantium, where they put a red light in his eye and he looked in the mirror, and he had this whole experience where he saw, I think, like a soldier on a horse and a Native American or something. Like, I mean, God, for a skeptic experiencing something that's pretty profound.
Yeah, I wonder what they decide to, like, what decision process that goes through them, like what goes on the cutting room floor and what actually makes it on the show, because that seems pretty interesting. It also seems like it verifies what you were saying, that there was something going on with that mirror.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, when that whole mirror thing, I just came out of the shower. Now, mind you, like, so when I first got involved in the paranormal, it's in my book. There was an experience I had. It was very similar. So when this happened, I didn't know if it was connected. But again, the message "see you" on a mirror is like, I can see you, basically watch you from the mirror. But I had this experience like 10, 11, 12 years ago, where I had a vision walking away from my bed in my old apartment, and I was walking into the bathroom, and I looked up at the mirror. And as soon as I looked up in the mirror, something just took my face and face planted against the mirror, and my body went into sleep paralysis. And all I could hear echo in my head was, "I see you." And then I shot up with the chills at 3 o'clock in the morning. And about 2-3 weeks later, I was in the shower, and I had a shaving mirror at the time in the shower, and I was washing off, and I saw appear on the shaving mirror. It spelled ISEE with a big U on the bottom. So when this happened, I didn't know if that was connected, if something was trying to antagonizing me, knowing I had to be there for that long, because I have a lot of enemies. I'm a demonologist. I help people, and I try to help spirits. Like, again, I'm prime target. So, they're going to try to have everyone come after me, especially if I'm doing an experiment like that. So I mean, who knows?
And plus, you were there for so long, you're probably in such a vulnerable state at that time because you can't get away from it. It's constantly bombarding you, even if it's Adelaide, it's still spiritual energy coming at you
Yes.
constantly. It's got to just wear
Draining.
you out.
Of course.
And
Yeah.
how long did it take you to get back to normal after you left?
That's what I was gonna ask.
Well, yeah, I mean, the first day I was able to leave, it's like, oh my God. I mean, the first thing I want to do, like, I called up my friends. I'm like, we're going to a bar and I am having drinks in a social environment stat, and it was really weird because it felt so weird to be free out in the open and around other people. It felt very, very strange. And I remember I went to the restaurant and I sat at the table with a few of my buddies, and like all of a sudden my ears started ringing like crazy, and then the light started flickering crazy right above the table, and then I heard someone call out my name, Sean, and my friend actually heard it too, and it was just like weird. It just felt very, very weird. It took about probably a week or two per se to really feel like, okay, get back into the routine of being a part of planet Earth. It took a little bit.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I was sitting here when you were talking, thinking about like 28 days. I know after our 2 nights of investigation, I'm exhausted. Everybody's kind of exhausted. I feel like everybody, because they're so focused, you get tired. You're draining that energy. But if you're open at all, it's a different kind of tired. It is like I can't, like you said, I can't think straight. Tired.
It is,
I can imagine going day after day after day.
And it don't matter if you get a lot of sleep, because we could sleep late. I could sleep to like 10. I mean, 11, whatever it is, because we wouldn't start filming again till like 3 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that, doing interviews and talking about the evidence from the night before. I mean, it didn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's just like, I don't know. It's just like you're in a daze. It's just like you're drunk.
Trying to stay grounded, like you were talking about going out and running and stuff, but
yeah,
I don't even know that would be enough to keep you grounded enough not to feel just off.
Well, it was helping. It was definitely helping, and but again, towards the end, I mean, I'm like, I can't do anymore. I'm just fried. I am so freaking fried. It's just, I told you, it's like you're spiritually drunk. It's weird too, like, after long investigations, I don't know if you experienced, but like you crave food too. You crave sweets and like salty food, whatever it is. And I've thought to myself, theoretically, like I've wondered if, like, because we know spirits take energy from the environment, I've wondered if like somehow our bodies are being affected where we actually like some of our nutrients are being extracted from us, and then we feel like dehydrated. We feel like we need something because there's something going on, when this is happening, because that's not normal daily life. It's just like there's cravings that go on, and it's like a hangover. So
yeah, and you do, it's much like a hangover. You feel thirsty all the time. You want caffeine, you want water, and you want sweets, like to try to get your body back to normal.
I'd be curious to like have someone like do like some sort of test on a body, take their blood and see how it actually, the state of your body and your blood and your system after like a really long investigation compared to just a normal day. Yeah, be interesting.
We'll do that in 28 Days Haunted season 2. Would you do it again? Would you take part of that again, or is it just one time? That's enough. I got what I needed.
I mean, I'm lucky and I'm humbled the fact that I've been blessed to have some of the opportunities I've had in the paranormal field, to be up there and be involved with something that involves your passion, to be up there and bring awareness to this stuff. This is the 3rd TV series I was able to be a part of. I'm very thankful for it. And just at the chance of having an experience like I did on the show, like obviously, I would consider it again. It's my passion. It's like the thing that I experience. It's part of my daily life. I experience something paranormal every single day. It's there. I'm supposed to be. It's a calling to it. And yeah, again, being there for a long period of time, I could have another profound experience with a spirit like I did with her. And I've stayed at places for long periods of time, but again, you can leave and go out to dinner and have fun. But I mean, we're all looking for these experiences that stand out, the ones that really, stick with us. And the ones we really wonder about, as paranormal investigators who are truly passionate about the subject. So, just at the chance of that, of course, I mean, I I want to be busy with the paranormal, and I feel like I have more to do, and I really would love to leave some sort of impact behind, in the end when I'm done, like some of my predecessors are predecessors in the paranormal field. You know, so yeah, I'm just keep on and keep doing what I'm doing, and just going out there and filming, telling stories, experiencing, investigating, and trying to help people in spirits.
Now, do you think you would have gotten more stuff if you had, which you got a whole bunch of cool stuff, but if you had been with people you knew and you had that energy of had familiar energy where everyone knew each other, what do you think your experience would have been different or would have been more enhanced?
Well, definitely less drama.
Well, yeah.
For starters. I mean, I'm sure you guys experience this too, is that when different individuals come into a haunted house or an investigation, I mean, one person could be an energy killer where just things don't react the same. I mean, I think these spirits, again, they are, there's a deciding factor with auras of people. And, if there's a group of people, there may be some sort of assessment, as a whole, with all the people coming in there. It might change the energy in the environment, might change the interaction level of the spirits. So obviously there's you know when I was first supposed to be part of the show, like I had two people with me that were supposed to go on, and yeah, I mean, absolutely, I wish I was there with them. Of course, I mean, again, I've been on other I've been on other experiences where I ended up on another show with like people I don't know, and like it's tough being on a TV show sometimes, man. I've been through the muck of the TV world, but again, it involves my passion, and sometimes you just got to take a risk and take the jump and hurdle, and see what happens and roll the dice. So I'm very thankful for that experience again, TV show or not TV show, and I think that's what we all look for.
So, with the situation you were in, that kind of brings me to a question. You're there for 28 days, so it's duration of time, it's the isolation, it's the fact you're open and you're with people that you don't necessarily know. There's that drama. Did you all capture anything or anything evidential that seemed to be something more manifested from y'all's energy or the time being there than an actual entity that was normally there?
Yes, I mean, yes. So there was a documentary I did called Maleficent. It's actually, the poster's right behind me right here. It's my proudest paranormal film project. It's very personal to me. The story, it's something that'll probably stick with me to some degree for the rest of my life. And it's a story about how I believe I crossed over two female spirits that were trapped by a demonic spirit and a man, that in life tortured, raped, and killed these women. And that story was what it's all about. And this thing wanted revenge against me for 5 years. And it tried to mess with my personal relationship, and it took credit for sabotaging part of it and tried to mock me about it. And interesting enough, it was like a relationship that actually was still haunting me around the time with when I was there at the house. Like, it still was just around me. I just couldn't escape it. It was there with me at the house while I was filming the 28 Days Haunted. Now, the two of them one night, a couple of nights, they had a Ouija board with them, and I don't mess with that stuff. And obviously I'm just like apprehensive about that, because I'm like, guys, like, we got to live in this place for a long period of time, and you can make matters worse for us or even me, because again, I'm the enemy of these things. And they were messing with the Ouija board, and it was coming through the spirit box, and the spirits were saying, like, something, the door's opening, something more is coming, and yada yada. And I mean, after that, that's when like some of them were arguing. It was getting kind of worse with some of them. But I remember one night, I was they were doing the Ouija board downstairs, and I was upstairs, and I don't want to be a part of that. Now, I don't judge anyone who mess around with the Ouija board. I know plenty of people that do that stuff, but I got oppressed after messing with that many years ago. I'd never doing it. I'd never advised people to do that. And everyone wants to take a risk and do that. That's your free will decision, but I would never advise for you to do it. But anyways, I started to doze off while they were downstairs, and I had a very, very profound vision. And the first part of the vision was, I believe to be Archangel Michael. He's floating above like thousands of shadow figures. He had a silver plate, and like a sword and a shield, and he was looking down at these shadows as if they were peasants. And he just aimed his sword up into the sky, and he starts flying upwards. And as soon as he's flying upwards, my visual changed, and I was looking up at him, and then he looked down upon me, and he's like, "Keep following the way of the cross." And after this, then it switched to this vision of this black hooded thing, and I could see scales on its face and like a reptilian eyes, and it was screaming at me. Now, just to take you back, is that this story here? Sorry, got me pointing the wrong direction there. The story there is that we found out that this place was a brothel, and the place that we were staying at, there was a doctor that was doing abortions on the prostitutes, and that the babies were buried on the property we were staying on. And the demon's name that was coming through was Moloch. And if you know anything about this demon, it's the recipient of child sacrifice. Okay. So when I saw this thing and they were playing the Ouija board downstairs, I was dozing off, and this hooded thing with the reptilian eyes, the most disturbing part. Now, this is probably one of the most disturbing things that I've seen throughout all the years of what this appearance of this thing was, is that he was wearing basically like a helmet, and the helmet was hands moving, coming out from behind the head, I think about 3 times on both sides. And the most disturbing part, that they were alive, moving, and they were babies' hands. And this thing was screaming at me, "You swine, how dare you?" And it was yelling at me. And I believe it to be that demon for what had actually happened. So I think it was kind of referencing itself and being there and wanting me to let me know that it was there. So yes, there were definitely things that were there that I was being visited. When you're on a property that has portals, you're going to be encountering things from places that you've investigated in the past. I mean, I've experienced this so many times.
Wow. That is pretty crazy. It's just wow, because you hear
The
people
good and the bad.
wow. Yeah, that is man. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's like you said, they're doing stuff, they're opening stuff up, but you are the one that has to deal with it.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, guys, come on, you know.
And
I've got to sleep at some point.
You know, like, and you know, they were just like, "Well, how come nothing's happening to us?" Because like I was being like in my bed, I was like, things were whispering in my ear, "Ouija." You know, like I was having things mocking me, coming to me, or starting to build, and I was having to throw holy water around my bedroom because I want to be able to sleep at night. And I'm like, it's like they're messing with me because they were a lot. It was basically they're probably allowing more stuff to come in there that they're going to come straight to me. And they would ask me, "Well, why is this stuff happening to you, not to us?" I'm like, because they're using you as a tool right now, and I'm the enemy. Yeah. They know that they can use you to come after me, but you can open that invitation, and that invitation could be open not today, not tomorrow, not next month. It could be years from now when you have no clue it has to do with anything paranormal. That's when they'll peek their head in and start to nudge you. And they have that invitation, you know, but they don't want you to know it's paranormal. They're going to antagonize, amplification of any dark emotions that you have in a bad, hard, rough part of your life. And then they're going to try to victimize you and thrive off and suck your energy and cause havoc and chaos within you and everyone around you. I've been on a case, give you an example of a family I did out in West Virginia. I think it was Virginia. They're having creepy stuff happen in their house, and I was downstairs in the basement and started coming through about a Ouija board, and these people didn't do anything. They didn't investigate or nothing. Like they don't even know where this came from. And they told me like 30 years ago in high school, they were playing with the Ouija board, and out of nowhere, their son's being visited by a red glowing-eyed hooded figure, and it's telling this kid to cut himself. So that's what I'm saying. There's no conception of time. So like if you open that invitation, you don't know when that invitation is going to be open, and they can wait very patiently. It's not going to be on your time. It's going to be on their time. And we can only speculate when, how, when, who, or what and how. I just like, so that's the real delicate danger of what we get ourselves involved with these things.
Yeah, they're over there, you know, playing with Ouija board, and like you said, nothing's happening, and it's like, all of a sudden, like you're dealing with the repercussions, of what they're going through. They're like, probably like, well, if I could show you how I feel, what's going on, I would let you guys know. If you want stuff to happen to you, I'd be glad to give you some idea of what's been going on with me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just when you're in a place for that long, you can't leave, you can't go anywhere. It's obviously becomes a little worrisome because I'm just like, what, we're already living in a place that's very active. This place is very haunted. we don't need to throw goat's blood everywhere and say, hey guys, let's get the party blowers out.
Like come in the waters.
When's the sacrifice again? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I've been through the muck throughout the years of all different types of experiences, but I'm appreciative of everything. I truly love the paranormal, and it's a gift to be able to have the experience that I've had, and I'm sure all the ones that we have ourselves. And it's what we do with what we do with it. Is it good or bad? Is it a representation of darkness, or is it light, which is the representation what God stands for, unconditional love and forgiveness, and sharing that light out into the world and being an example of what God stands for. So, and that's our free will choice. Grateful for whatever we can experience, because when we die, the cat's out of the bag, and that's why it's this endlessly fascinating mystery each time we go out and investigate a place, because we don't know, that one night might be a very defining moment for you, and unforgettable.
So we're almost done with our time. We got about a minute left. At least on the audio part, the StreamYard will keep going. But I want to give you a chance to talk about what you have coming up, how people can touch with you, and everything else you want to add.
Well, yeah. I go live every week on TikTok, mostly. Big Investigation go live on YouTube, but my handle's on there, Sean D. Austin, most of my social media. We have an awesome, very interesting project coming out this summer on scarenetwork.tv.
Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Oh,
whatever.
Sorry, the blog talk part cut off, but that's awesome. So yeah, guys, please check out Sean on YouTube and TikTok. I appreciate you coming on the show and talking with us. Hopefully, we'll get you back at the cabin.
Oh yeah, definitely got to come back to the cabin. It's been a while.
No
more spiders, though, please.
No. And I was going to suggest doing 28 Days Haunted at the cabin, but I'm like, probably not.
There's my God.
I wouldn't want
to. That's another very unique, weird, eerie story that stands out. That whole thing of that Spider-Man, because that demonic spirit was definitely messing with my fear. Of big spiders.
Oh.
I was just, you never saw a spider like that ever again in that place, right?
No. No, that wolf spider.
That was the size of a dinner plate.
Yeah, it was about the same size as a pack of cigarettes, a little bigger than a pack of cigarettes. It was huge.
Wow.
And for that spirit or whatever to change
to this day, I've never seen the SLS turn into on all fours, legs bent backwards like a spider in the exact place where the other spider was killed the night before. That is just insane. Still, it's just really, really nuts.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and talking with us. I really enjoyed watching the 28 Days Haunted. I could talk to you for another hour, but I know you got stuff that you need to do. So
no, good. Yeah. Did we have a really cool story? Doesn't matter. Are we on still or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're still going. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you about it really quick anyways. We have a really cool project coming out. I got Shane Pittman, who was on 28 Days Haunted and Holzer Files with us. We did a really cool project with a bunch of colleagues. Really unique story. It's going to be called Darkness in Suburbia. So I was asked to help out on a case down in Jersey. Ends up that a whole neighborhood was just built in 2020, and multiple houses were having paranormal activity going on. Ends up that this place, the whole neighborhood was built on top of farmland that was actually used for the Japanese internment campies that were sent there to work on the farm. And we bounced around to multiple houses investigating what's been going on and trying to uncover some of the weird things that are going on. So it's going to be a really unique, cool story that's coming out this summer. So that's something that's coming out. And then we have something coming out on Goatman's Bridge and Bel Air House, which is another creeper.
Yeah, I've been to Bel Air House. That's pretty intense location. I've never been to the Goatman Bridge. Now that part of American history, the Japanese internment camp, is not something that many people know about. It's kind of it's a shameful part of the American history, so I can see why it's kind of been pushed aside. But it'll be good for people to learn about that part of our history and learn about what happened.
Yeah, like I said, I've never played musical chairs bouncing around to people's homes and doing investigations. Like it's on a huge wide scale. And there was about eight. I think there's about 8 houses that the people that we started with that talked about paranormal experience. Some of them weren't willing to come forward, but some of them were. So we bounced around to a handful of houses and stuff that they experienced in the forest by the neighborhood. And there's like 60 something houses there. And now I just heard that there's 3 or 4 more houses that are having experiences, and they might be willing to come forward. So if this all goes well, we might be returning to do more, because I've never seen wide scale paranormal activity like that. For me personally. So it's really interesting and fascinating, because there's histories of like the mob and putting bodies out there when it's farmland to Native American burial ground. So I don't know, but there's a creepy aspect. We definitely had some pretty crazy stuff go down.
Well, that I can't wait to watch it. That's gonna be that's gonna be very interesting to check out, because it's like you said, you jump in different houses, you're trying new things to get more and more evidence. Trying,
it's crazy to go just from house to house to house and like the stories to what's going on. I'll just tell you a little tease, is that something was really interesting, is that one of the houses, we never went in this person's house, but we got stories from the house, is that the wife and the husband were like having domestic disputes, problems or something like that. But one night he tried to burn the house down. And so the neighbor that we first investigated heard when the cops, now she's works volunteer firefighter, so she overheard the cops when they got there, and they said this guy heard voices telling him to burn the house down. And we thought that was pretty strange, but we actually got an EVP of this creepy thing saying burn it all down. So like we're like speculating, is there some sort of dark force like that's pissed off? Could it be historically or whatever it may be, trying to get? And there's another house that the fire alarm was going off, like weird stuff, like it's just interesting. It's just like making us speculate on what's going on there on such a wide scale. But look forward to everyone checking it out.
Yeah, that's neat to see that come, like, to take a widespread area and try to figure out what's happening in all of it and have that common denominator. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yep. Very cool.
And plus being able to bring these people's stories to the forefront and let people know about, what happened on that land is pretty cool too. Because that's part of the reason what we do too, is to help bring the stories of these people that died or suffered to the forefront and let people know that, hey, this actually did happen, and people are still being affected by it. The land's still being affected by it.
Yeah, it's not an old neighborhood. We're talking 2020. I mean, this is like straight out of the Poltergeist movie. I mean, this place was built upon a place where there was a lot of emotion. What's causing all of it? I don't know. I mean, there could be a lot of residual energy, but there's something dark that's, there. I mean, again, you can't destroy evil, you can only displace it. So, I mean, I've never blessed multiple homes in one day, but I did. But it's interesting though. I think when this comes out, we might even have more people in the neighborhood might be willing to come forward. It'll be really interesting if we continue and go back and do more. So,
yeah. Once people see like other people are having the same experiences as they're having, they may be more apt to come forward and be like, oh, well, I saw this on the TV.
Yeah.
My house. You think that was strange? Come check out what I have over here.
Totally. Yeah, it'll be interesting for sure. So I look forward to sharing that story with everybody. I mean, that's what it is. You never know. You run into some of these really unique investigations, and have the opportunity to put it on film and tell a story, bring awareness, and get evidence, and try to help at the same time. That's what it's all about. And that's why I'm thankful to be able to do those films and put together stories for people to watch and learn and see that this stuff really is real. I had a really unique one last night, to be honest with you. I went on an investigation. An owner of this property actually reached out to me through my website and up in northern Connecticut, and he bought this huge plot of land. And now he's supposed to be doing these things called sniff spots. And I never heard this before, but it's kind of like a place where people can go on these trails with their dogs. And interesting enough is that he didn't know the history behind the land, but he goes back there in the land and there's this old dog pound that was there. And then he started to ask around and found out that there was some scandal that went on back there, I think in the 70s or 80s, and he's got newspaper clippings. So people were like talking about get your dogs out of there because they have five buses in dirt up the hill from the dog pound, that they were taking the dogs out in the back, shooting them and throwing their remains in the buses, over 2,000 dogs. And so this is a whole scandal that was going on. And he said that there's some creepy vibes going up there. And we went up there last night with a friend of mine, and we were getting some wacky, creepy stuff. We got disembodied barks on EVP, and we went up there with his service dog. And as soon as I opened up the dog pound door, this dog was whining, and we were having some crazy activity up there. But that was a very unique one last night, and also very sad too.
Yeah. And I would imagine animals would be able to sense that what's happened there.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
The evil on that land too. It's got to be like seeped into the ground to do that to a dog or do that to anything. But it's
I don't even want to know what I would do to a person if I saw someone do that to a dog. I really don't want to, like, seriously, like I have such love for animals and dogs, especially, like, I mean, to me, dog backwards is God for a reason, because that those animals give nothing but unconditional love and forgiveness to, their owners. And that's really what God represents. They're special animals. And I swear, if I saw someone doing something like that, it would not end well for that person.
There is no logical reason for anybody to do anything like that. And it's got to be something just evil. It's just like, and that shit does not leave. It's stays. That's crazy, man.
I know. And they found recently someone witnessed a bear coming out of the bus with like a leash and a collar in its mouth, and I'm like, oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
So luckily my friend's an officer. He had a weapon with him when we went up there in case we ran into any bears or anything. But, it was pretty unique, and it was creepy. We saw a piece of an apparition, and we were just getting weird stuff last night. So unique one.
You some pretty messed up things when you're a paranormal investigator. Could you hear some stories, man? That's it's tough to deal with sometimes, as far as like what humans can do.
Yeah, I mean, do you know about the story that's on scarenetwork.tv right now? It's like one of the most horrific things I've ever heard of. It's terrible. I mean, gosh, I think I already forget his name. Nathan in Bel Air, Ohio. He was doing satanic rituals, and one day he decided he shot his dad with a rifle, decapitated him, put his head in the bowl with ashes and candles around it, and then proceeded to axe his mom to death and try to crucify her in an upside down crucifixion on the wall with staples.
Oh my God.
And then tried to go out and have a hit list and kill a bunch of other people. And we did a whole series on it. And we did some investigation around there. But it was a really just horrific story as well. But yes, you can see some really unfortunate tragedies. I mean, tragedies is going to equate to spiritual events, because that's connected to it 100%.
And you open yourself up to these forces, and a lot of like these people playing with Ouija boards. I don't know what caused him to do this, but it's kind of like a cautionary tale where it's like you don't know what you're dealing with if you aren't experienced like you are. You have some idea of what to expect, or in Rhonda. But a lot of people that they open these doors up and they don't know what exactly is coming through or what could possibly make them do that stuff.
Yeah.
Or influence them, not make them do it. Obviously it's still their decision in the long run. Like, you hate to go back to the cabin, but we did an EVP session down there. One of the guys asked the spirit or the entity in the basement, what if they influenced Randy to murder his sister, and a voice comes through clear as day. I put him on a war path.
Well, didn't he mess around with stuff? Wasn't he allegedly doing some?
I mean, we don't know for sure, but I did hear that he did spend a lot of time in the basement, and so I mean, I don't know what he was doing down there, but I know from experience, the people who have gone down there, even for a short amount of time, have felt extreme anger towards people, and I can't imagine if you're living there, because but this guy has been living there like a lot longer than 28 days, so he's bombarded with it like constantly, but not knowing that that's what's going on. It's
Well, I mean, that's what they do. They don't want to be exposed. I mean, that's why when I would go to a house where an alleged demonic infestation was going on, you'd have to use religious provocation, because you have to force it out of the shadows. It doesn't want to be exposed out into the environment for what its true intentions are. So, I mean, that's the same thing. I mean, it wants to hide in the shadows so it can do what its ultimate, devious, evil plan really is. And that's why that's the most dangerous, delicate nature of the paranormal, is how they can influence our emotions, our subconscious, and make our thoughts and emotions feel like it's ours, but it's really a third-person perspective influencing from the outside.
Yeah, that would be an interesting second season of 28 Days Haunted. Go to a place where you don't know that the place is haunted, just some random house, and so you don't have that notion, hey, this place is haunted. You just feel like completely open and not sure what's going on. It would be
Sure.
Interesting. Call Netflix up and tell me have the idea.
Well, who knows? I mean, it's that happens or whatever. Imagine being out like in the suicide forest in Japan in the tent for 28 days. Who would survive that?
No. Is there any place you would not go for 28 Days Haunted? Where I
mean, well, that would be tough. Imagine doing like Bell Witch Cave in the darkness for 28 days.
No, I would live in a cave for 28 days. I wouldn't. Not with like a long beard and shit.
Coming out like twitching and stuff.
Tourists are like around. They run away screaming, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, no. I mean, I wish I could have spent 28 days. I mean, my number one house is to go in the Amityville house. I mean, I have personal involvement with that story now too. We did a whole documentary on that. I mean, I would love to just be in that house. You just lock me in there for 24 hours, let alone 28 days. Because I really do think that there's still something around that property, and that energy behind that story still resonates around. I know it firsthand because I've experienced it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously I would try. Poveglia Island, 28 days by yourself, leave you on the island by yourself. Imagine that one.
Was there would you ever be scared of just coming out a different person? Like,
I mean, something extreme like that would definitely be. I mean, I know Brandy and Jeremy ended up in a lot worse of a place than the rest of us did. I mean, we had nice bed and breakfast, and they had some like goods store. I mean, they
hardware
had like
store,
makeshift beds on the floor and a makeshift shower. I mean, they were having microwave dinners. I mean, we were grilling out steaks and chicken, and I mean, on that part, I'm very thankful for that. They definitely seemed like they had it pretty rough. So if you take that to the next extreme, I mean, that would be pretty tough.
Yeah, I think that they definitely had the short end of the stick, because even the team in the lumber baron house had pretty good. But yeah, I would be like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Who did I piss off to get this location?
Yeah, yeah. So many locations, so little time.
I know, right? I mean, I could there are so many different places that you could go and do the same thing, and you get put different teams together and stuff. I think it would be interesting.
It's definitely a cool concept. I mean, the whole thing for sure. Um, but yeah.
Well, guys, I definitely appreciate you all coming on the show and talking with me tonight. Rhonda, I appreciate you. You're coming back on here next week. So
Oh, that's right. I am on next week with you.
yes,
Yep.
yes. And Sean, I'd love to have you back on, man. We could talk. I could talk for you for another hour.
Really, for sure.
But RJ's
Yeah.
still awake, so I gotta put him to sleep. So
Yeah,
I will definitely.
Thanks for having me on.
I'll definitely keep in touch, and
yeah, we'll figure out a date to come check the place out again for sure.
Perfect, man. I appreciate it, man.
You got it. You guys have a wonderful evening.
All right, you too, man. Take care. Well, that was awesome. A lot of fun talking to Sean. I didn't expect him to stay on past 10 o'clock. That's awesome. I love hearing stories and stuff. And like I said, I could go on for another
hour or two.
Yeah, I got a hardwood chair that's hurting my back. And, I can barely move, so I'm gonna go ahead and get up and see if I can get RJ to go to sleep. Angie was nice enough to let me do the show tonight, and so next week I had to totally lost my train of thought there. Yeah, next week we've got supernatural news.
Okay.
CR and Karen from On My Mind with CR are going to come on and talk about some more haunted fun stuff in Minnesota, and then hopefully Austin will be back with us too. And yeah, awesome. Thank you, Nikki Jacobs, for coming up, listening to us. Thank you, Mary, Jerry, CR, Rachel, Tracy, Kristen, everyone who tuned in. We appreciate it. And we'll be back here next week. Same freaking awesome time. Same. Oh, yeah, you got a class coming up too in Fredericksburg. So if you're in Fredericksburg, you want to learn about essential oils.
Yes. If you in Fredericksburg, my friend Candy is teaching a class on essential oils. I'm not sure exactly where she's teaching it, but if you ping me, I will get you the name of the place. I don't know if she has openings or not, but that will be Saturday and Sunday hitting the King William powwow.
We'll be in at the cemeteries placing flags this weekend. So if you want to come out to Evergreen and Woodland cemeteries, we'll be doing that. That'll be fun. That will be fun. Maybe I went out to the powwow myself. I don't know.
Should. It's fun.
Yeah, maybe I'll see. I'm supposed to go down past Tappahannock, but drive right through King William County.
That's right.
Yeah. All right.
Take right off 30.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I will talk to you later. Thank you again for coming on and helping me out.
Welcome.
I appreciate it. And guys, thanks to guys for watching. And we'll see you soon. Bye.
Night, everybody.